So I was at one of our EXP conferences, and I can't remember. We have one in Florida and one in Las Vegas. So I can't remember the first time I was introduced to Sphere Rocket, but it was at one of those two places at our conference, and actually got to see Justin speak, see him personally and hear the presentation. And I signed up immediately. Well, Justin, like, this is what he said. I don't know if he's still doing this, but at the time he said he had a webcam in his fridge that his virtual assistant could see what was missing and restock it for him by ordering stuff virtually. That's next level.
Hello and good day to whoever that is really tuning in here at the Sphere Rocket Podcast Network. Once again, I'm going to be the host for today's episode. My name is Wayne, and as promised, we're going to be having another exciting episode. Well, more background about it because it's our special guest that's going to make our episode extra special, I would say. Well, who's our guest for today? Well, let's give a background. He's a city lover and a world traveler. After exploring Latin America, Asia, and Africa, she's back in Cambridge, Massachusetts, enjoying the vibrant events and unique charm of the area. With a background in public health and an MPH from Boston University, she's passionate about improving lives. Her project management skills make her a natural fit for real estate, where she loves finding the perfect match for her clients. When she's not working, she's walking around Fresh Pond doing yoga, dancing, and planning her next trip. And also, she speaks both Spanish and French in addition to English. So without further ado, please welcome Amber Jamanka. Hopefully I pronounced her name correctly. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. So Amber, how do you pronounce your last name? It's quite unique, I would say.
Yeah, so it's Jamanka.
Okay, Jamanka.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I made it a bit.
But I answered to either. I'm not picky.
I'll stick to Amber, so I guess I wouldn't make any mistakes.
Perfect.
But yeah, so I guess Amber, you've been to a lot of places. Nearly all of the explorable continents. You got Asia, you got Africa, Latin America, and of course, America. No love for Europe?
I've been to Europe. I've been to several countries in Europe, and I've been to a couple of countries in Asia. I've never been to Australia. That's the one continent I'm missing right now.
That's the only one, and Antarctica, but that's I guess that's out of the places that you're gonna visit. And with all of the places that you've been to, what is the place that you've fallen in love the most? And if you can share what is like the most exotic yet delicious dish or delicacy that you've tried there.
Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, I've traveled all over the world, and so it's hard to pick one place.
You're not exaggerating. All over the world.
Yeah. I did fall in love with one country in particular, which is Senegal in West Africa. And I ended up living there for 3 years. In addition to Spanish and French and English, I also speak Wolof, which is the traditional language, the national language in Senegal. And so I still stay connected to that country and culture and the dance and music. And I've been back twice with my kids. So I don't think that it came up in your intro, but I also am a mom and I have 2 kids. So so they've been around the world with me as well. I raised 2 travelers.
You know what? That is amazing. Like, how do you get that much time in your hands? Full-time mom, traveling around the world, and of course, you got real estate as your profession on the side. So how do you balance all of those things out?
So I worked for 10 years in international public health. So I had always had a love for language and cultures and people. I didn't necessarily think I was going to be good at languages, but I just would, once I realized I wanted to really live and work in countries and get to know the culture on a deeper level, I ended up learning the languages as well. But I traveled a lot for work. So, I mean, I traveled for my personal life, which was always, I just have always had um, a joy for travel from when I was really young. So, as soon as I started making money, I would always save it, or if I got a tax refund, I would always think of things in terms of a trip. If something cost $250 in my head, I'd think, oh, I could go to Mexico for that. So yeah, I've always loved to travel. But then I did for 10 years, I worked in international public health where I supported projects mostly in Africa. And I traveled quite a bit for work to, I was in Madagascar, I was in Mozambique, I was in Kenya, Ghana, Burkina Faso. This was all for work. And some of those places like Madagascar and Nigeria, I went to for 3 times each, and I went for 3 weeks for each trip. So, I traveled quite a bit, and some of those trips were when my kids were quite young still. So I actually got to the point where I honestly felt like I never needed to travel again for the rest of my life.
Traveled a lifetime, more than one lifetime's worth. You've been to a lot.
Yeah. I filled up many passports and even had to ask for extra pages to be added at the end. And, but yeah, so here I am back in my hometown. I never thought I would be this hometown girl, but I ended up, raising my kids in the town I grew up in. My kids went to the same grammar school I went to. They went to the same high school I went to. And I'm in a different neighborhood of Cambridge, but, here I am. And the funny thing is, even when I worked in international health, my office was in Cambridge. So
You're pretty much stuck to Cambridge for the rest of your life, and pretty much traveling to a different place definitely is a good refresher for all of that.
Yeah. So now if I travel again, it's with my kids and it's someplace for a vacation. It's not so much for work. So that makes it, so switching from international public health to real estate was a huge transition. I had worked in the field of public health for 20 years. And so I guess I could jump in and tell the story of how that switch happened. Yeah. So, I had been living in Senegal. I decided to get my master's in international health because I discovered that field of work and I fell in love with it, and came back to Cambridge from Senegal to go to Boston University right next door and got my master's. And in my head, I thought I was going to move back to Africa. And I thought I was going to have kids there and raise my family there. And that was going to be my life as kind of, working in this field. But I ended up, once I had my kids, everything changed. My mom is here. My husband.
Your priorities basically changed when you.
And then, decided to raise my kids with my husband at the time, my ex-husband. We decided to raise our kids here, and which is how, I ended up settling back in my hometown. And but it's a pretty big hometown. It's not a little. We've got quite an international and vibe here, and a lot of universities and hospitals and everything that brings a lot of culture and people here. So it's a big hometown. But yeah, anyway, I thought I was going to retire in that profession. That was really, I got my master's. I worked in the field that I had studied to work in, and I was kind of working my way up, different promotions, new projects, new countries. And I thought I was going to retire there. And then I got laid off. They did a 20% reduction of staff overnight. No preparation.
Was it in COVID times?
No, it was before that. Because it was about 8 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Not to get into politics, but there was a presidential change that happened at the time that affects funding for reproductive health specifically. So the organization
overnight, that much people laid off, that is questionable. But
yeah, it was quite a shock. And to be honest, even if I had known it was coming, I really didn't think it would happen to me. Like, like we said, I speak French, I speak Spanish. I, was able to be flexible to support projects almost anywhere in the world. And, most people that came to that organization maybe spoke one other language. And so I think there were probably a lot of multilingual people there, but it also depends on how useful the language you speak is. Wallach never helped me on any of my projects. But anyway, I got laid off and it was a little bit of a shock. And once I started looking for jobs again, I was interviewing for jobs in public health, in international health. But during that time, I was unemployed. I was getting paid unemployment and I had free time and I signed up for a real estate class just thinking it would be fun. And
just randomly, like it's not like that.
It was so random. I looked it up and there was like a class starting the next day and I just signed up and started attending. And it was one of these cram sessions where you do like 8-hour days or something. So it was like in 1 week, I had finished my coursework basically.
It's pretty convenient.
Yeah. In Massachusetts, we only need 40 hours of education. And then of course you have to pass the test, which is what, troubles a lot of people and they may have to retake it. But anyway, I got I took the class and then I thought might as well take the test. And then I took the test and I passed and then I got my license and it was just like that. And I didn't tell one single person. I didn't tell one single
Not even
person.
your kid?
I just woke up. They probably knew, but outside of the family, I just woke up one day and just said, "Surprise! I'm your real estate agent."
I can imagine how you wake up like, okay, so I'm an actual real estate agent now.
It probably took me so I immediately fell in love with real estate. And it is really interesting going from working internationally to working so locally. And it was a huge shift for me. And it was a huge shift in my whole identity, if you think about it. And then also going from 20 years of having a boss and a manager and a structure and an office, and then to suddenly go to, well, yes, there's an office, but you may never see it because I basically worked out of my car and was driving all around. And
that's your kind of life, traveling.
That's true. But I loved it. The main thing that made me fall in love with real estate was the fact that I got to work with and talk to my clients directly one-on-one. And when I was helping them, which I still feel like I'm in a field where I'm helping people, of course, it's a very different population and, it's helping them in a very different way. But, having a home, having structure is still one of the things you need to survive. And I love that I can help people find that and that it can create financial stability and generational wealth. There's so many amazing reasons why people should invest in owning their own home or even having, investment properties.
I also wish I knew that way before I started working. I thought that I never needed it. Fresh off college, got your first salary, like, okay, I'm gonna buy all the things that I wanted. So video games and those sort of stuff when you were just young and then growing up. Oh, so the property that I should have bought back then has increased in value like nearly more than twice, and it made you think. And I wish that at that time I had that kind of guidance to help me where I should really put my money in. So it's good to people like you helping out with this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really important to me, and this is going to be very shocking, but in Boston, so I'm in Cambridge, which is right next door to Boston. So we're part of the greater Boston area. There is still a huge discrepancy in wealth, and there's a huge discrepancy in wealth based on race. And I'm actually, just so that I don't misquote, I'm going to pull up this actual article that came up a couple of years ago. Net worth in Boston. I'm just reading this one paragraph to you. Sure. According to Michelle Wu for for Boston, the median net worth of a Black family in Boston is $8, while the median net worth of a white family is $247,500. And then because that was from several years ago, but then it goes on to say that the COVID pandemic actually increased the racial wealth gap. So that's not a misprint. $247,500 versus $8. And they're measuring net worth, but the way that families gain net worth is through real estate and home ownership. So
that is more than day and night. Like
yeah. So that's really shocking and discouraging. And the only way that we can change that is to try to address that gap in home ownership. And so I really, my family is interracial. It's just something that's very important to me. So I especially love when I get to help families, people of color, to buy or sell real estate, and even selling, a lot of the sales that I do. You think, oh, this is Cambridge. It's very expensive here. We have a very high price point. And what I've been running into lately is a lot of older families that had bought 30 years ago or even 40 years ago or more, that suddenly they might have bought their house for, well, I'll tell you, my one favorite story was a couple that had bought their house in 1979 in Cambridge for $50,000.
What?
$50,000 in 1979. It was a 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Huge house.
5 bedrooms for $50K?
Yeah. And we sold it. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We sold it for $1.7 million. And it was basically a fixer-upper, because it needed it had not been renovated. So, yeah. So in that family, they weren't wealthy. They weren't, they were very working class. They had raised 4 kids there that I grew up with, that I went to grammar school with. So that's how I knew the family.
So a childhood kind of friend, something, yeah.
Yeah. So they came to me because they knew me and they trusted me, and they knew that this was their biggest nest egg. This was their one and only opportunity to sell something that was going to be the biggest financial decision of their whole lives. And they interviewed probably at least 5 or 6 different agents. And so the deal was not handed to me on a silver platter. Like, I had to go in and interview for it. But in the end, not only did they, like the proposal of the price point, the timing, the marketing plan, everything that goes into the strategy and the commission split and all of that, they made the decision based on that. But what they really needed to take into account is, do you trust this person? Because when you have 6 different agents that you talk to and they're each telling you something different, that they are saying, work with me because this is the way we should do it, and then every person has something different, you really, it's very confusing and it's very scary. And so anyway, like I said,
you got the tiebreaker using your influence from.
Yes. And it helped that the son that I went to grammar school with, that was my age. I knew all 4 kids, but I had one that we were the same age in all the same classes together. And he was the one that was in charge of helping sell the house. So that happened.
Who would have thought, when you were kids, that you'd be selling their property?
I know. I have several. I have so many, childhood friends or friends of my mom's that were kind of like aunts to me that I grew up with. And so I've really, and that's been one of the other things that I've loved about being a real estate agent is not just the connection of working with the client, but the fact that a lot of the connections are just from my own, well, we call it sphere of influence, but it's it's your network. And so I love connections. I love staying in touch with people, but it's not something I would necessarily be that good at. Sending annual holiday cards, sending birthday greetings, giving
The
somebody
old
a
fashioned
call
way,
or a
I guess.
text. Yeah, calling somebody or texting them on their birthday. And that's the kind of friend I wanted to be, and that maybe I was when I was like a teenager and I had free time. But, I would years without sending out any kind of card. And if I did, it would probably be 50 people on the list. Whereas now, I try to make a point of doing it more frequently throughout the year, and including birthday greetings, Mother's Day, Father's Day,
That's too much,
anything that
unfortunately.
anything, spring, anything that you can celebrate, and just to reach out to people and stay connected with people. And basically I put it as this job just is helping me to be the kind of friend that I would want to be anyway. And,
Well, were you able
expanding
to
that to more
achieve
people.
really that, or did you change strategies or some sort?
Oh, so in terms of strategy, for getting leads, yeah, I think that is it half and half. It's some is going to be my direct sphere of influence. People that I know personally that I've stayed in touch with, but I would say social media. That's been the main game changer for me, and that has been my vehicle for reaching out and finding and staying in touch with people that would have been part of my sphere, but how would I have ever reconnected with them? So even, this family that I just was talking about, I had grown up with them, and so I had been in touch with them over the years, but they had all moved out of Cambridge. So, I had one of the siblings that actually used to live in the same house from me, upstairs from me. He had moved to Las Vegas. Another sibling was the one who I had, gone, that I was in touch with. And he knew I had a master's in public health and that I had a career in public health, because we had in touch, but he had moved to Chicago and we lost touch. And then two of the other siblings were in California. So the only reason why I got that deal was, and this particular friend was not on Facebook and not on Instagram. The only reason that he saw that I was even a real estate agent and that made him call me was because I had updated my status on LinkedIn. And I was
LinkedIn.
not even, and I was like not even barely on LinkedIn. Like I barely used it for anything, and I barely had
The
any
stars as a line
people.
for you to get that
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Oh, that's a scary thing about real estate, is every deal is like that. Every deal is just kind of like some random coincidence that happened that makes them connect with you. That's why, like, the more you can be out there talking to people, connecting with people. I had my favorite deal that I met the clients because I found the wallet of the husband had dropped his wallet, and I found it.
What?
And I went on a mission to return it to him, and I tracked them using my real estate skills and got their address and phone number. And when I returned it to them, they were so grateful, and they said, what can we do to repay you? And I just gave them my card, and I said, well, I'm a real estate agent. If you ever know anybody that's going to buy or sell, I would appreciate the referral. And then they said, well, we actually want to sell.
What are the chances? What are the odds?
And I sold, and I bought them a place. So, yeah.
Wow. You must
So that
have,
was one of
I
my
think it's not
biggest
just luck,
deals I ever did.
your skills, your communication skills definitely plays a role in it. I mean, right now we're talking right now, and it's easy to open up to you for some reason. Like,
Oh,
you
thank
just have that kind of vibe around with you that
I appreciate that.
definitely comes out, yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
that's been, real estate, that's what you do all day. You just connect with people, talk to people. And honestly, that has always been one of my, I guess, favorite skills, is to be able to connect with people, talk to people. And it was actually almost to my detriment when I was in public health, because public health you're not dealing directly with people you're helping ever. You're looking at the big picture. So we had projects that were, hundreds of millions of dollars and over years and on another continent. So that I was helping to support, but I never met any of those people. And so, my whole job was basically, a lot of it was on the computer because I'm, helping to manage, and it was a lot of operations and a lot of administration, and my whole team is overseas. So now having the opportunity to work with people one-on-one and talk to people all day and connect with people, and just when I connections, it's not even that I have real estate in mind at the time. It's just, like I said, it's being a good friend.
Yeah.
It's being
share stories, the first stuff.
Yeah.
And pretty much, I think that's gonna be one of, if not the best business superpower that you got, to be able to make those connections and randomly make those kind of deals from sources that you wouldn't expect to make those kind of deals. So I guess you would be really in other social media, let's say that. So are you working alone, or do you currently work with a team, some team now?
Yeah, so I am a solo agent, but I'm at EXP. EXP my fourth and final brokerage. I was at 3 other ones before, and I've been at EXP. I just had my 4-year anniversary, and I love it. It's the best decision I ever made. And we have what's called a self-organized team. So it's really more of an informal partnership. And so we have a chance because we are a global brokerage. We're in every state. We're in 24 countries. And you don't see any billboards around for EXP. It's really word of mouth, and it's agent owned. And so I have, I think, 5 people that currently have joined EXP because of me. So they're in my mini organization within the organization, and most are here locally. One is in New York. But yeah, so I am looking to grow, and I can connect with agents anywhere in the country, even in the world. We're not in the Philippines yet. It's the last time I checked, but hopefully we will be, because I'm going to sign some agents up there.
Yeah.
I do.
Guys, we continue on the conversation. I'm just going to play out a short commercial for our breaks. We'll be back after a few seconds.
Overwhelmed with work? Well, meet your new partner from Sphere Rocket VA. In just a click, get matched with a virtual assistant who handles all the tedious tasks. No in-person hiring, no extra office gear, just easy online help from our recruitment team. It's like having an extra pair of hands minus the hassle. So ready to relax and see your work done just like magic? Choose Sphere Rocket VA and visit us at www.sphererocketva.com.
And we are back at the Sphere Rocket Podcast Network with Amber, our very special guest. And before we continue on, I've been wanting to ask this since the start, but Amber, what's in your shirt? I keep saying stock, but I think there's more to it. So,
yeah,
all right.
So thank you for asking, because actually this is good from what I just talked about. Here, right, I'll do it like a superhero.
Superman there. Got stock.
Yeah, got stock. And then on the back.
Oh, hashtag
yeah.
EXP.
So it's that I actually designed this myself and made it myself, but it's for my brokerage. We are all agent owners. We all, when we do our first transaction, receive stock, and then we receive stock in multiple other milestones. But every year, we receive stock for our first transaction of the year, and we all own stock in the company, and we're all agent owners. And, so we own that equity, and there are actually
good investment, I would say.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that became millionaires because of the stock. When I started 4 years ago, the stock was $9 a share, and within the year, it went up to over $100.
X10, wow.
Yeah, it went up to 120, I believe, and then it split. And And then, so then it was like double it. So then it went down to like 50 something per share, but then everybody got double the shares. And because they wanted to keep it more affordable. So they made the decision to split the stock. And so, even me, I cashed out. Like a lot of people cashed out
already.
At that point, Well, at that point, growing. Now it's back down. You know how stock goes. So currently our stock is pretty low. It's at about, last time I checked, like 12 or 13 per share.
It's holding a really good price then.
Okay, yeah. I mean, no, it's not crashing at all, but all real estate stock is down because of the interest rates and the NAR settlement and everything that's going on in the market. And but you know what? As somebody who owns stock, we don't mind when it goes down, because if EXP is going to gift me $400 worth of stock because an agent I sponsored sells their first or closes their first transaction, how many shares am I going to get if it's $9 or $10 versus if it were at $100?
Yeah, it's a win-win.
So we low, and then that gives us the opportunity to own more, and that's how the market. You want to buy low and sell high, right? So
there's several avenues of just earning, than just making those deals, your commissions. There's also some stock options, which is really amazing for the longer company. And I want to get back earlier in growing your team. So you said that you're currently working team in EXP. So just wanted to bring up the conversation in regards to virtual assistant, because you work with a team worldwide. So have you ever heard of or tried having a virtual assistant?
Yes, absolutely. So I was at one of our EXP conferences, and I can't remember, we have one in Florida and one in Las Vegas. So I can't remember the first time I was introduced to Sphere Rocket, but it was at one of those two places at our conference, and actually got to see Justin speak, see him personally and hear the presentation. And I signed up immediately. I thought
that's the magic of Justin. Shout out to you, Justin. You're amazing.
Yeah. Well, Justin, like, let's tell the viewers a bit how he has this is what he said. I don't know if he's still doing this, but at the time he said he had a webcam in his fridge that his virtual assistant could see what was missing and restock it for him by ordering stuff virtually. That's next level.
We're living in the future. I would say if that was possible, yeah.
Yeah, and I still have it printed somewhere, a list of tasks that could potentially be assigned to a virtual assistant, and it's like 3 pages long. So
awesome. Yeah.
Signed up right away, and I can talk a little bit about the process. I was actually really impressed. One of the keys on my end was to really be clear about the job description. And there's a lot of support out there. Like, you can just ask somebody from Sphere Rocket, or ask somebody, or Google it, or go to ChatGPT, but just to say, like, what skills should this type of person have, or what would be, but if you get it, you can get samples of job descriptions. So, to be really clear on what you're trying to hire for, but also I'm a huge believer into your gut, and like, you get a feeling when you're talking to somebody, that whether you trust them, whether you think they'll follow up, or the type of skills and that person might have. So I would say to put as much importance on the qualities the person has versus just the skills that you're reading on their resume. And so the first one I hired, she's still with me. It's been more than a year. I can't remember what month will be her 2-year anniversary, but she works for me full time. She's like my right hand woman, and like I said, I get a lot of my leads through social media, and so she's basically worked for me as an administrative assistant with a focus on social media, but she doesn't that type of design, but she just is really kind of the interpersonal. So she'll go into my messenger. And okay, this is one of my tips. This is one of my like top tips for real estate agents, is to reach out. So I added on, so Facebook is one of my main sources. I added. So I 5,000 friends on my Facebook platform, and I was very specific about adding people that were local, because you can see where people say they live. And so, you know, I would go into some of the Cambridge groups and then just add people that, especially if we had like 50 friends in common, which now, because I have so many people on my friend list, I'll see people that I have 250 friends in common with. And so, you know, I would just add, and a lot of probably ignored it, or a few messaged me saying, who are you? Why are you adding me? But a lot of people just accept the friendship, especially if you have that many friends in common. So I now have 5,000 friends, which is the max you're allowed to have on Facebook.
Better create a second account then.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I could, but that's too much. I feel like that would just mess up my whole flow. But yeah, so most of them are local. And then my assistant go in, and one of the things I do is send a birthday greeting, because you know how Facebook will notify you which one of your friends their birthday. And
it saves me a lot of times
because I have so many, yeah, they're all in there. And so I actually recorded a video, which is much more personal than just having a graphic. And so my assistant helps me to send that message out to everybody, which is like about 15 people per day. And then she also posts on their actual timeline, like happy birthday. And people love it, you know, getting a personalized video greeting saying, you know, like it just says like, oh, hey, like I saw on my timeline that it's your birthday. I wanted to reach out, and I'm not going to sing for you. Don't worry. But I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. And I hope you have an amazing day.
That saves you a lot of time. Imagine always making those greetings to each and every 5,000 of your friends. That really cuts off a lot of your time.
Exactly. And it's like there are always these good things that you know you could do yourself, but do you really get around to making the time to do it? And I would be the first person to fall off. You know, I might be consistent for a week and then the next week drop off. And especially with the birthdays, because you only get one chance, and then if not, if you miss a year, you know. So that's she did that for me, and I have a Facebook group that's for Cambridge and Somerville. It's the community. It has just been growing exponentially. It has right now over 16,000 members, and so she helps me manage that as well, because we have it set up so if people post, they have to answer some questions to agree to the community guidelines. And then also ask them if they want to get the newsletter, and just so give their email. And so and that's another thing, like Facebook does not have any easy way of exporting that information. You literally have to go into every message, copy the name, copy the email, put it in a different spreadsheet, and you have to do it manually. And once you accept them in the group, that information is gone forever. You can't go back and find that email. So she's in charge of that, and I have, you know, because the group is growing so quickly, I have probably like more than 20 requests per day of people wanting to join the group. And so she goes through and she helps too, because we do want it to stay local, and we want it to be real people and not people that are spamming. And so, you know, there's some questions like, what is your connection to Cambridge or Somerville? And then depending on what they answer, they might
just imagining all of those tasks, it will take you an entire day. That's on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, you know, she does a lot, and she does some marketing for me as well. So she helps to manage my CRM, you know, my client relation management system that I get through EXP. We have KV Core, which actually costs $600 to $800 a month. Normally, we get it for free. It's a very, very, very powerful CRM, integrates with the MLS, so it has that IDX capability. And so, you know, without getting too technical, but we can create different types of landing pages. So not just like it has our website, we can create landing pages squeeze pages, which is a little bit different, that really puts them into it. The squeeze pages can create actions that happen after they click on it, so that they'll get emails, or you'll get, it'll email them a question or different, assign a hashtag. It's more powerful than a landing page that somebody would enter information and then it would just end there. So my assistant creates these squeeze pages and landing pages for me every day based on properties that are being promoted through my brokerage. And every state is different, so agents need to be careful about what their requirements are. But where I am, I can post other EM without permission. And so, some people, so you might be able to post any agent's listings in some places, because they're all going to Zillow, they're all going to Redfin, they're all going to Realtor.com. Nobody's asking permission. Once it's on the MLS, it's public. But still, in Massachusetts, I don't think you can promote something on social media if it's a different brokerage without permission. But yeah, so she creates these pages for me, and new listings come up every day in different areas that I work in. I work in the whole greater Boston area, not just in Cambridge. And so she, helps me select the property. She writes up a description. She creates the squeeze page, which is a specific type of landing page. Technical. She adds the hashtags to it that are going to get assigned to it. And so she's really, I think she has a background even in engineering or something. Like, she is really, really good at the technicals. And this is something that is good for anybody hiring a VA or working with SpearRocket, just to be really clear about what the person's skills are and what their, qualities that are kind of their minuses, like what their capabilities are. So she's really, really good at following directions. I could once she's done it and the, the directions or the information, then sometimes I might record a video on Loom and share the link, or, just in writing. But then I can she's so reliable. She's so, even though it's what they call the graveyard shift there, like, she's working there, it's the middle of the night, but I could message at any time during the day and she'll be on Zoom within a second.
Proactive.
And she's got her lipstick on and she's like professionally dressed and ready to go. And so I know she's working really hard, whether I check in with her or not. And so that's like her strength, is her reliability and her consistency. Her weakness is she's not good at stuff that requires like you to be very adaptable in the moment. So I tried using her to do cold calling, for example. But with cold calling, even if you have a script, it's like you kind of it needs to be more natural. Yeah, you need to have some intuition and to be able to adapt a little bit to the situation. And so she really had a hard time with that. And, to be honest, it caused us both a lot of frustration, and there were some growing pains because something
and trial and error is part of the process.
To me. Yeah. Something might seem very obvious to me, but then when I would be like, oh, just do this, this, and this, and then she'd just completely shut down because she'd be still trying to figure out step one, and I gave her 5 steps at a time. And so now I know I can't do that. And I really think she could probably do anything that I threw at her. But it's more like I would take the time to train her and to do. But and then I've had actually hired for other people over the last couple of years, over the last 2 years, that did not work out. And so I'll be honest about that. And I'm, as you can tell from my relationship with my current assistant, I'm pretty hands off. I like to be able to, give people their tasks and then I'm not a micromanager in that way. And I don't want to be. So I know, and I'll also be honest, SpearRocket offers so much support. So much I was very impressed with the whole interview process, which I never finished talking about. But, like apparently there were like 80,000 applicants that were like the original pool. And then they get narrowed down and narrowed down and narrowed down. And then I would interview with like 10 people and then, hopefully choose one. And so you don't really get a chance to know the person very well before you hire them. And I think that my own mistake with some of the other people that I hired that didn't work out was that I was not managing them as closely as I needed to be. And they, they took advantage so that didn't work out, fortunately. So Sphere Rocket recommends various practices for making sure that you can monitor people because, they're working on another continent. It's the middle of the night there. There's always going to be the temptation, right?
We're all humans, yeah.
And then I shouldn't even say, the fact that it's on another continent. Like you could be right here next door, and if you're supposed to be working remotely and nobody's monitoring you, I'm sure half of the U.S. is taking advantage of that.
It happens in actual offices too, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just kind of the nature. Maybe it's human nature, but like I put a lot of trust in people, and once they broke that trust, I could have, definitely worked with them, but I just I thought if you're gonna stop the minute I turn my back, then that's not something I can work with. So that actually happened a couple of times, and the first time I gave the person so many chances, and I was really actually trying to figure it out. Like I was like, this should have taken you 20 minutes and you're saying it took you 4 hours. Like what is going on, And so every day I would just be, and at the time she was doing the birthday greetings. So she would be like, oh, but I did the birthday greetings. And I'm like, but how long did that take? Like, should have taken 20 minutes, And, but yeah, anyway, so it was like weeks and weeks and weeks of kind of trying to figure out, feeling like she wasn't producing as much as she should be, and kind of trying to figure it out. And then in the end, having to lay her off because she was really just not working. And like, even when we would specifically be like, we need this right now, like do it, and then it would just not get done. So it was pretty bad. So then when it happened again, I didn't give any more chances. I was just like, as soon as I started to see that same pattern, because I had actually read that I gave that woman so many chances and paid, it's like money out of my pocket. So if I'm not getting any results from it, so that was a lesson learned. And the thing is that Sphere Rocket does recommend using, this was several years ago, so I don't know if it's still the recommendation, but there are definitely apps and programs that can help in monitoring. There's
making sure the mouse is moving, that kind of tracker. Those are
there was one, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like it would just screenshot like every
randomly
5 seconds.
To make sure.
And so I had actually tried asking my first VA to use that, and it was like not working with her computer. It was like crashing her system, or just couldn't use it. And and you kind of have to, I think you have to give people a lot of grace around that, because who knows how new her laptop is. It might be several years old, and that's what she can afford, So, I mean, laptops are friggin' expensive. Like, I don't even want to buy a new laptop. So, if she says that program, it's like she can do the work she needs to do, but this other thing on top of it that's trying to run at the same time is making the whole thing not work. So, and then she was the one that was like such a hard worker, and that was like always responsive and always available. And, so with her, I never felt like I needed it. And so then when the next ones came and I didn't have that in place. So, I definitely take accountability for that. I don't think it's anybody's fault other than my own, of lessons learned of managing a team overseas, which is funny because I've actually worked with people
It's
overseas
challenging.
a
It's a new
lot.
kind,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah. If you're not right there in front of them, it can be hard. Even when I was working in public health, I would be every day on the phone, send me this, give me this, do this. And it's very easy to ignore me when they're in Africa.
Yeah. And that being said, so yeah, hopefully you're able to, slowly fix all those mistakes, from the old VAs. And now in your business right now, we've talked about, all of your stories, how you're able to close deals. Can you tell us more on what would be the best way to see your listings, properties, and, to reach you, to contact you?
Okay, yeah. Well, my Instagram and my Facebook, both just under my name, Amber Chamanka. On Instagram, it's amber.chamanka. And so you can find me there. You can follow me. I post a lot of personal and I post a lot of business. I do have business pages, but nobody nobody follows me there. So like the personal page is better because real estate is something where you're really working with people as people.
Touch of humanity, yeah.
It's outside of, and that's another top tip real estate agents is to really be yourself. I mean, you want to be professional because if somebody sees so there are probably a lot of things that I don't post on my personal account that I would if there was no professional connection. But I love posting stuff about kids. I love posting stuff about, a vacation or a trip or, my yoga class or my dance class. I post a lot of dance videos. And it was actually one of my real estate coaches that told me to post dance videos, and I was terrified. Video. I think I would have ran from this invitation to do this podcast because I was very shy.
No way you're shy.
Now, I know. Now I'm so used to it. I'm saying go live on Facebook any day. But it took me 6 months to do my first Facebook Live because I was so scared that I would.
And look at you now, podcast.
Yeah. I love it. Love social media. I love video. I have a YouTube, but really I think Facebook is obviously the best place to find me. If somebody's in the Cambridge and Somerville area, they can also join the Facebook group, which is called Life in Camberville, Cambridge Somerville Community. And the other place you can always find me, if you're looking for me in person, is my favorite cafe, which is in Porter Square. And when I worked at other brokerages, I used to always go sit in the cafes anyway. I never wanted to go sit in the office. And so, the cafe is where I run into people I went to grammar school with, people I went to high school with, people I used to work with, people my kids, the parents of the kids that my kids. So yeah, it's like the best place to run into people. And I see new people every day there. So Porter Square Bookstore, Zen Cafe, you can find me there.
Yeah, we'll be sure to also post the link so people won't miss your website, especially the Facebook pages that you have. And that being said, it is an amazing podcast. I've learned a lot. We went a bit over time, but it's all good and stuff. So Amber, before we close this, maybe you want to give a shout out to anyone, your VA. She's been doing an amazing job based on this conversation.
Oh, yeah. Let me shout out my VA, MJ. She is amazing. She is in the Philippines. She's a mom with 2 kids, and she's just one of the sweetest, most honest, hardworking, and loyal people that I've had ever work with me.
Yeah. So you're lucky. Yeah, you're lucky for someone as a VA.
Yeah.
Someone
and
a VA like
and I'm definitely on hiring more. I would love. I want to do it more strategically this time, but my top. But I would love to hire a cold caller to help make those phone calls to prospective clients and maybe even to other agents. I would love to have a social media person because I do so much social media that to have somebody to help take that over would be amazing. So those are the my list.
Okay, I'll be sure to inform the recruitment from Sphere Rapid to help you out with that when the time comes. So Amber, once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It was really fun, and hopefully for better deals for you and better friendship, and of course, better VAs for
Yes.
your expansion in your business. So that is it for our episode of the Sphere Rocket Podcast Network, and we'll hope to see you again in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.